Welcome, everybody, to another Horror Corner. Hi there, everyone. My name is JPOOL, and once again, I am joined by my co host, LC.
Barely breathing, but I'm here. Hello.
You're barely breathing. Did somebody go after your
I'm
jugular?
so tired. Fortunately not, but I definitely feel taxed. I'm like mid transition of, something like this going on. It's I'm not myself.
Look out,
Not
Eddie's
Wolf,
gonna get
but
you.
not myself. That's a not so great photo of Eddie either, but I'm
I
trying.
mean,
I'm
he's
trying.
transitioning too, so.
Yeah, we're in it together for this record for sure.
Exactly. Well, for this week's film we're going to be discussing and reviewing, we're going to be talking about cults, right? I'm joking. Well, kind of.
I was like, wait a minute, don't do that to me. We are reviewing the 1981 movie The Howling, which I was thinking about it, and we haven't done, other than Trick or Treat, we haven't done any werewolf movies. So
Yeah.
this was a fun treat for sure. I mean, for lovers of practical effects, there kind of isn't anything better than werewolf transitions, especially in those, kind of late 70s through, I mean, frankly, up to current day. You get a lot of different effects as the years go by and things improve. But some of the 80s effects are, in my opinion, the best. So this was a fun one to start out with.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it's directed by Joe Dante.
The man.
The man. The myth, the legend. You know, a lot of people know him for the Gremlin series and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But here we have 1981's The Howling, and by the
Yeah,
title, you kind of get where we're
you kind
going,
of guess.
what creatures
Yeah.
are in this film.
It's kind of like Silver Bullet, and,
Oh yeah,
it's werewolf, an American werewolf. They never really leave a lot to the imagination with these werewolf films, but yeah, and it's great that you mentioned the Gremlin franchise. I will talk about it obviously as we go through, but this movie, there's so many fun surprises of actors throughout it. This must have just been a time in Hollywood to be in the horror genre, because we see a lot of our friends from Gremlins and from a lot of other movies. So, shall we dive in?
yep, yep. Definitely,
All
let's
right.
dive in and let's not into the ocean. Don't dive in the ocean. You don't know
No.
what's.
Well, no. I mean, hey, there's some nice coastline in this movie too. This one starts out, this one isn't, I'll say this one isn't for the kids. He mentioned Gremlins. Gremlins is a fun, holiday movie, in my opinion. This one, there's a lot of sort of seedy nudity porn and whatnot, especially right at the beginning. So, yeah, little note for the parents out there, maybe not one to throw on for a weekend watch. But we start this movie out at a television station, and the first scenes we see Dr. George Wagner, who's hosting some sort of a talk show, and he's the author of the book The Gift. And this movie really centers around kind of this television production family, if you will. We cut to Karen White, who's played by Dee Wallace, who's been in a bazillion movies and shows. She's some of our, early 80s favorite movie moms. She was Mary from E.T., which is where I instantly recognized her. She also has had her fair share of run ins with wild dogs in the past as Donna Trenton and Cujo.
Yep.
And she was also Lynn Wood from the original Hills Have Eyes. So she is a horror movie royalty, in my opinion. But she is a news anchor reporter for KDHB Channel 6, which feels so of the time. And she's going out, on location. She's all wired up. She's trying to meet up with this mysterious Eddie who has been, kind of being a creep around town, and it looks like they're, following her in police cars. He's been reaching out to her, semi-stalking her, and it looks like they're trying to get some sort of an expose. She's going out in the field, undercover, if you will, and she's also being tailed not only by the news station but by her husband Bill, who's played by Christopher Stone, who was also in Cujo. Fun fact. So the scene starts with her going into just one of the most grossest, looks like 42nd Street, New York, but this is all taking place in Southern California. She goes in, she's a very, very posh woman. She first goes by a phone booth and takes a call from this mysterious Eddie. You see a smiley face in the phone booth. And then she goes into this seedy kind of porn shop. And she's scaring away the the patrons. She's a little too well dressed for what's going on. Um, so yeah, this is probably number one reason why you shouldn't watch this with the kids, because she ducks into a booth and starts watching some filth, and Eddie creeps up behind her, which this is weird. We talked before we started watching this. I hadn't seen this movie in a long time. And going back to probably when I watched it, I have some thoughts and maybe judgment calls about the parenting in my household. Because I'm pretty sure I watched this as a kid and I didn't recall this first scene at all. Chances are probably because it wasn't really interesting to me. And my, childhood brain, I was more looking for the horror of it all, not the the porn shop. But yeah, it's definitely been a minute since I watched it, and I had blocked all of that piece out. Um, so she's in this booth, and all of a sudden, he kind of moves in on her. She screams. The cops run in, shots are fired, and you kind of end scene. So now she's being troubled by these visions of this interaction. She's got very kind of loose memories of the evening, obviously very traumatic.
Yeah, very amnesic.
But yeah, thank goodness, right? I would try and block all of that out as well. So now we cut to some of the other team from the television station. We've got Carrie, who's played by Belinda Balaski, she was also in a number of horror movies, specifically. Well, she was in Piranha, but she was specifically, you mentioned Gremlins, are Down on the Luck Mrs. Harris, if you recall, who gets accosted out in front of the bank by our big meanie in the movie Gremlins. She's the little mom who's just asking for an extension on the mortgage. So she and Chris, who are kind of this investigation team, they are in Eddie's apartment trying to make sense of what happened, and they're seeing some drawings. They're, some definitely you're starting to see where this whole wolf piece is going to come in, because there's a lot of drawings on the wall of faces that are covered in hair. And then this really idyllic California coastline scene. And last but not least, of course, they find a drawing of Karen. So confirmed, this is their Eddie. And when they take their findings to none other than Dr. Wagner, who we opened the movie with, they discover that the name on the drawing is Quist. So now they're putting the pieces together. What are your thoughts at the opening? Did you recall any of the opening of this movie from when you had watched it, or was it like watching it all for the first time?
I remember the scene where she does encounter Eddie, and of course the video that she is watching.
Yeah.
Which I'm not gonna really like.
You're a young man.
I'm not gonna describe it to the viewers. You have to watch it because it's a little bit graphic, and even around that time, some of those videos I hate to say it, were more real than they would be able to get away with today. Meaning that
Oh yeah.
um, sometimes they would take videos of people not those people not knowing you're actually filming them. So it's the early
The snuff
'80s.
subgenre.
Yeah, it's the early
Yeah.
'80s. So,
You
uh,
know, let's let's call that out actually because I have that in my notes, literally in quotes. Oh, the 80s. Let that be a quote that we bring up a couple of times in this telling of this story because there are a number of moments like that.
yeah, and especially with uh, you know, Karen, she's traumatized. She
Yeah.
has amnesia from the incident. She can't even remember what he looks like, or exactly what happened. Like when the police
Hmm.
fire, there's blood that splatters on her and all over the area, and she doesn't even remember that happening. All she remembers is them leaning out the door and asking her questions, and she's like, "I don't know. I don't remember anything."
Right. Right.
Her brain is throughout the whole time is trying to tell her something happened, and she just can't access those parts of her brain.
That was dark. She goes into the studio to recount it live on the air, and this is, another one of those moments of, oh, the 80s, because we meet the station manager, Fred Francis, who is played by Kevin McCarthy. Did you recognize him? I recognized him from one of my favorite films. He was RJ Fletcher in the award-winning Oscar smash UHF with Weird Al Yankovic. Um, he kind of always plays an asshole, a typecast asshole, and he's I don't know, I'm trying to think of the name of the guy that used to have a show in the early 80s where he was really um kind of a jerk. It looked very similar vibe, but in any case, this was definitely a personality in TV back then.
Oh yeah, he was also a
And
lead. He was the lead in the movie from 1956, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
oh hey,
Yep.
yeah, I don't remember him from Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I recognized him from Piranha as well. It's very interesting to me how a lot of the actors in this movie have played roles together in other movies.
Oh yeah.
Um, a lot of crossover between Cujo, Gremlins, Piranhas. But he's throwing out not great terms that would not be used today. And I was like, the 80s.
It was a sign of the
But yeah,
times.
a sign of the time. The 80s, we oftentimes people look back on the 80s and, jelly bracelets and big bows and neon, and they think, what a time. But this movie quickly reminds you that it's good that we've moved past a lot of it. But yeah, he pulls her. He pulls her from the desk. She can't remember anything. She can't tell the story. Like you mentioned, she's got amnesia, so
And PTSD,
cuts her out.
like serious
Yeah, yeah.
PTSD.
And he doesn't care
It's all
because
about the ratings.
oh, the 80s.
Yes.
Well, that part probably stands today. So this Dr. Wagner, who is this television personality, seems like he has a talk show, 1980s version of Dr. Phil. He's also, obviously who everybody goes to because we had the investigators earlier take this information to Dr. Wagner. Now Karen goes and visits him almost like a therapist. And what does he recommend? Go relax. Take some time off.
The
Go to the
colony.
colony.
The colony.
Yeah.
If you hear
The
somebody, if
the
you
cult.
yes, if
You
you
were
hear
right.
if you hear about a group place that's called the colony, you might want to look into it. And I know back then that you couldn't just like Google it because there's no such thing as
Yeah.
the internet back then. But
Hmm.
I would ask around and going, have you heard of this place called the Colony? That's a strange name. Is it a place I'm gonna go to and they'll put me in this like weird like giant figure and then burn me alive? I don't know. Or put me in a
Right.
helmet full of
Right.
bees and I don't know.
It definitely has a vibe too. When Karen and Bill go to the colony, it's you instantly are met with a series of weirdos, real weirdos. You've got like a hippie kind of vibe, but you've also got a very witchy kind of vibe. And then, for good measure, which is my ultimate fear, you have the hillbilly vibe. A little bit of something for everyone, I guess. But yeah, Karen, she goes up to the colony at Dr. Wagner's advice, and it looks very. And I looked it up. I want to say it's Santa Cruz area. I can't remember. I looked up the filming locations, but it's got that California coastline that I personally really love. It looks a little like Carmel or Big Sur, rocky coastline, really pretty. I mean, I would have been tempted. You know what? Today, if you told me to go to the colony, I would take you up on it because this girl is exhausted. Um, but yeah, so they go to this kind of like fun, beach party, but it's not Gidget. It's those individuals I mentioned. You've got just all the real weirdos, including this very creepy Marcia, and her brother TC. So Marcia's the witch, and TC is it's a little backwards.
Was she creepy? I think she's just a little bit horny.
She, and hot, of course, because the 80s of it all. She's instantly kind of making a play for Karen's husband. It's a time. It's a time.
It's
Just
a
hanging
time.
out, listening to music, drinking some weird punch, and getting creeped out by the locals. So yeah, so they're hanging out. They're at the colony. It's all of those vibes, but also upscale because they play tennis. And
Yeah.
yeah, did you happen to catch Karen Shorts when she was playing tennis?
Not particularly. I wasn't looking at her shorts.
It's a moment. It's this is a personal recommendation for me. If anybody watches this movie, look out for Karen Schwartz. And it's not because they're what you expect. They're like denim sport shorts. I've never seen anything quite like them, and my brain does not recall any of that fashion from the 80s. Like jean cutoff shorts, maybe. Not that you'd play tennis at them. Anyways, I digress. So yeah, so they're up in the colony, and Karen and Bill are trying to kind of reconnect. We've got, lots of interesting things kind of happening up there. There's sounds in the woods. Uh, it's definitely setting the stage for what's to come. Meanwhile, back in LA, we've got Terry and Chris, and they're continuing their investigation. Um, they go to see the body of Eddie, who, of course, was shot during the melee, right? At the porn shop. I don't know what we're calling this place, but and he's mysteriously gone.
Yes.
They
There's
pull out,
marks. There's
yeah,
marks all over the door.
right, which is interesting because there's marks all on the inside of the cooler, but the cooler's shut and everything. So it's like, how did he must have smashed his way from the back end and somehow got the lock to open without any damage on the front side.
Yeah. No one questions that though. They just open the door and go,
Yeah,
"Where is he?" And I'm like, "Have you seen the scratch marks on that door?"
that's true. Movie magic. Yeah, he's just mysteriously gone. So now we know Eddie's on the loose. Um, it's getting real interesting. So we start to kind of go back and forth between the scenes, and we have more investigation kind of going on in the area. There's this moment where um, Karen and her friend go to investigate, some howling in the woods, and there's like dead cows,
They're like
and the
ripped
ranch.
apart. Yeah, they're like
Yeah,
ripped apart.
yeah, yeah. And the rancher that they run into says, yeah, there's more. They're all over the place. Um, the husband he's going to go hunting, with a bunch of guys because I guess that's what you do. Karen plays tennis and he goes hunting with the people in the colony, which I found this to be kind of funny. TC, who's Marcia the witch's brother, the hillbilly guy that I mentioned, they're using him like a bloodhound while they're hunting, which might have been one of my favorite moments in the movie. Like, TC, go pick up the scent, which should have been a pretty good indication at that point that, things are awry, but, they're not quite picking up on it yet. Um, we also have, some interesting scenes where Dr. Wagner, he apparently is weekending up in the colony as well. And he's almost having these therapy sessions with groups. Um, Everybody obviously in the colony kind of revolves around him. You start to see this relationship. They're really into Dr. Wagner. So I thought this was, just kind of a country club, but it turns out that, this is Dr. Wagner's colony. And, people are going to him. They're seeking counsel from him. He's their sort of PhD guru, if you will. Um, Again, floating back to LA, we encounter a occult bookstore where Terry and Chris are going to learn more about what could possibly be happening. But we find another one of our favorite Gremlin characters, Dick Miller.
Dick Miller
is hanging out as Walter Paisley. He owns this bookstore, which, that was probably one of my favorite parts of rewatching this movie because I'm certain my childhood brain watching this movie originally did not draw any correlation between all of these characters, but it's just such a treat. It's like an 80s cameo of our favorite horror actors.
That's probably
so
that's probably what Joe Dante was looking for when he cast. He's like made a call out to like popular horror actors and actresses. Please come do this werewolf movie with me.
Right. Or I kind of like got the impression that maybe he was like, hey, yeah, I'm doing this other project, so I'll just give you a call right after. Small circles maybe back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, even today there's small circles within the older horror film community because they're getting older and they're dying off, so they kind of like run into each other a lot at conventions.
Yeah, yeah. It was, I don't know. I smiled the biggest smile when he came on because I did not remember that he was in this movie. It's a small part, but it's nice to get to see him again. So, I feel like I'm jumping all over the place, but that's kind of the way this movie goes. It goes back and forth.
Yeah, it goes back and forth.
Yeah, until eventually Terry and Chris, they realize, stuff's going down and they eventually make their way up to the colony. And they stop by the occult shop one last time before they do, because, of course, Walter Paisley, aka Dick Miller, has silver bullets in his occult shop. So they come prepared when they finally make it up to the colony. But we're starting to get some interesting things now happening. We're starting to move more into wolf territory. Bill bags a rabbit on his little hunting excursion, and of course he takes it to Marcia the witch to taxidermy ? Cook it.
Cook
I
it,
don't know.
basically. Yeah, just basically cook it.
Okay.
She cuts off. I believe she cuts off a foot for him and throws it at him at one point. Rabbit's foots are lucky.
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then of course because she's a nymphomaniac.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to be careful around those type of people.
Yeah, there is very little time wasted. She had made her play initially, but eventually they're in the woods and they get naked pretty quick. There's very little flirtatious means between the two of them. They just kind of instantly hook up in the woods, and
well, that's
that's
after
an interesting
that's
thing.
after something happens to him.
Yeah. He eventually winds up getting bit by a wolf. So yeah, he's on his way back from Marsha's little witch den, and he gets attacked and bitten, we'll say, by a wolf-like creature. He goes to Dr. Wagner, gets his rabies shot, and then goes home to recover. But yeah, he's drawn out into the night air, and that's where he encounters Marsha, and one thing leads to another, and they have a little cartoon wolf union. But that's where we see our first transition, right? That's
Yeah.
where we get our first, and I love there's nothing that I love more in these movies than getting to see those practical effects. And I feel like in this movie they really draw them out, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Um, they it's not quick and it's not as well done as American Werewolf in London. It's definitely uh, earlier, probably less of a budget for the effects, but they're fun. There's a lot of, you can see if you're watching, there's a lot of bubbling that kind of goes on.
Yeah,
And
those
and
are
they
air tubes. If you can see the video behind you,
Mhm.
there are air tubes going and they're shooting air in, and it's kind of like expanding the makeup and the mask that he has on.
latex.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciated the fact because I feel like in most of these movies, you never get enough time to watch it, so you're inevitably rewinding the transition scenes to, I don't know, that's at least the way I live. But this one, they really draw them out, so you get quite a bit of time. This one, though, kind of ends funny because, like I mentioned, they eventually turn into cartoons. That's how they kind of wrap this scene, which was a choice. I don't know if I would have made it, but it's kind of fun and different. Um, so yeah, any thoughts from your perspective? You've seen a ton of movies like this. What did you think about that initial transition?
yeah. The special effects, I guess, designer of all these is what was it, Rob Bottin, and used basically mechanical bladders, animatronics, and air powered bladders to create the effect. I do like, you could either go one route. You could go like the super quick transitions, kind of like Underworld, where the
Hmm.
werewolves have to change at a rapid speed, otherwise they're dead. The vampires are very
Yeah.
quick. Or you can go for the more horror-ist type of like changing, like what we see here in the Howling, or even like we saw Trick or Treat, where the girls changed and they
Hmm.
did that almost all practical, which was really cool to
Yeah.
see. The skin tearing away from their body and everything to reveal like a
Hmm.
whole, kind of like a snake shedding its skin. Um,
Yeah.
in here it's a little different because they do cut back and forth because they do have to constantly do makeup to increase the size of the mouth, the size of the nose, put
Hmm.
in lenses in their eyes and new teeth in their mouth as they get bigger and bigger. But no, it's really interesting watching early werewolf transformations. Here we have the video behind you. You have Eddie, who's actually he's played by Robert Picardo. Now, for people that go, wait a minute, that name sounds familiar, is because he is of Star Trek fame. Um,
Ah,
yes, he played a basically
not to be confused with Star Wars.
yeah, no. He played on Star Trek Voyager, and recently in the now canceled Star Trek, was it Starfleet Academy. He played in Voyager as a doctor,
Okay.
hologram doctor actually.
Oh.
So yeah, so if people are like, wait a minute, that name sounds familiar, that's where he's from. And he's like one of the I guess first people except for like Bill and Marsha to really show like how ugly that the transition can be. Like because while Bill and Marsha are like, you know, getting it on in the woods near a campfire.
Right.
It is not so much scary as it's more like two dogs humping each other. And I've bred dogs
Okay.
for over 30 years, so I should know about this.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I mean, and that part wasn't exactly scary. It was just interesting watching them transition. For Eddie, it's like
Mhm.
he really shows, when you get to the point of the movie where he shows up again, how he, you know, transitions into a werewolf.
Yeah, it that's a good way to look at it. Is I feel like this movie, the practical effects with the transitions are uglier, right? You've got some really cool werewolf movies over time where it feels a little bit more seamless. It's still all practical, but it feels a little bit smoother.
Sorry about that.
But I feel like this one, in a way, it because of the cuts back and forth and the duration that they give each of these transitions, it does, it kind of gives it a little bit of an ugly side. You get this like color change too. Eddie looks dead.
Yeah,
It's not it isn't, a super cool werewolf transition where you're like, maybe that would be kind of cool to be a werewolf. You could transition back and forth and be super strong and kick ass. This is definitely, you're looking at these people and you're like, not for me. The bubbling and the kind of, I don't know, bloat look to it. It's pretty gnarly.
yeah. And
Um,
there's different styles
yeah.
too. Everybody looks like the same
Mhm.
werewolf type of werewolf in here.
Yeah, yeah. I like too that in this movie, and I don't think it was necessarily in the scene with Bill and Marcia. I think it was more in the Eddie scene, or maybe even later. Um, but they give a lot of uh, time to even the transition of the body shape itself, like the chest pushing out. Which, I mean, when you think about what a canine actually looks like, it's they definitely took their time and put a lot of detail into it to make it feel a little bit more realistic. Um, so back to back to the movie, we have our friend Terry, who is now up in the colony, investigator Terry. She's hanging out by the beach, and she realizes that the beach in the colony happens to be that same picture from the drawing that they had found in Eddie's room. So she's starting to put two and two together. She makes her way to Marcia's cabin, and while she's looking around at all the witchy stuff in there, she suddenly realizes that she's being stalked by some sort of a creature. She's kind of taking photographs of the interiors and everything, and all of a sudden this wolf bursts in. She jumps out the window like a champ and grabs an axe and cuts off the wolf's hand. This was a really cool scene. You get the kind of post transition. She cuts off, I should say, a wolf's paw, and you get to see the paw kind of transition back from being the paw into a human hand, which was pretty cool. She escapes back into the woods and goes to our favorite doctor's cabin, Dr. Wagner. Um, but we clip for a moment back to Karen and Bill's bungalow, and Karen notices the scratches on Bill's back,
Yeah.
and she confronts him. And this is where I have in my notes my note, oh, the 80s, because Karen confronts Bill, and what does Bill do when confronted about his infidelities? Well, he backhands her, of course, because it's the 80s. It's one of those moments where you're like, man, none of this was good. And it really isn't. The 80s nostalgia, the fact that this was in the movie and it was, relatively okay, I think it kind of tells you all that you need to know about why it's good that we've moved past the 80s.
I mean, to be
Um,
fair, like he wasn't really himself.
True,
So
but also,
so yeah, and when you look back at it, like he seems to like at the beginning generally care for Karen. So this might be just something out of the blue that she would never expect something coming from Bill.
Yeah, but it seems a little too innocuous. Like it happens, and of course she's upset, but it's not really like the what? That's it. I'm done. It seems a little too okay. Like backhand, and then, he's out of there, and it just kind of the movie plays on. It's a little strange to me. But again, it was a different time for sure. Um, so yeah, things are just continuing to develop more and more. I mentioned, at this point, Terry is she tells Chris about what's going on. Chris grabs those silver bullets from the shop, and he's on his way up to the colony on a mission. So we're escalating in tensions in the movie. Um, Karen goes to the doctor's office, and she discovers Terry's body. So Terry, she's been attacked. And finally, Karen meets back up with Eddie, Robert Picardo, as you mentioned, who also apparently had a role in Gremlins 2, which I didn't recall.
Yep, he had hair. He had hair at the time.
But yeah, I've read that. So I'm like, okay, there's another, pull in from our Gremlins franchise. But he jumps up from one of the stretchers, and you can see this is the scene behind me. He's got bullet holes from the incident where they met before. And this is where we get that really drawn out, satisfying transition. It's I didn't clock it, but I want to say it's, definitely longer than a couple of minutes where he's transitioning into the wolf. And as this is happening, to defend herself, Karen, picks up just some acid that happens to be laying there because, you always have acid in every doctor's office.
Yeah, of course. You always carry acid. That's how science works.
That's how science works. Uh, so she douses him and makes a run for it while he's smoldering.
The wrong type of smoldering, not not that type of smoldering.
Yeah, no, not hot. I mean, again, look at him. He's like physically smoldering, which is cool too. More cool practical effects. So she's trying to make a run for it, but the townspeople, bring her to Marsha's house, and they're all, standing around the smoldering body. So now we know everybody's in on it. Now we know that this is truly, Dr. Wagner's colony experiment. She tries to escape, and she, sees all of a sudden this wolf missing a hand. So now we know that we've got TC, right? Who's the handless wolf. Yeah, Marsha's bloodhound brother. So Chris gets to Dr. Wagner's office and encounters Eddie. And how in the world do you think that Chris, with his gun, is going to be able to take out Eddie with these silver bullets? How do you there's no way he can't lose, right? He's packing, he's well armed, he's now it's on. So he takes out Eddie, and then after taking him out, TC advances on him, also not knowing that Chris has silver bullets. These wolves are suddenly startled by the fact that these aren't regular guns. They've probably been shot at before. So TC starts taking out, all the villagers, including, I'm sorry, Chris starts taking out, he starts taking out all the villagers, and he also shoots Dr. Wagner, who weirdly seems relieved, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing.
I think he kind of probably sees it more for himself as a curse than a gift.
Yeah. Which I didn't really understand that. I had a hard time unpacking that, because he's like, yes, kind of putting him out of his misery. But I got the impression from the way all of this was shaping up that it was really, Dr. Wagner's experiment. So
Well, no,
isn't it an experiment that had gone wrong?
no, I think it was an experiment on seeing if, because he even talked about it, about like they're trying to keep up with the modern world, and he was basically trying to keep the werewolves away from, society in general, so that they didn't get out of hand. That's why he created the colony. So it's basically an isolated area where they could live and feed on cows, and maybe the
Poor
a
ranchers.
straggler that just comes out of nowhere, that no one will miss or anything else like that. But keep them away from basic society, so they're not exposed. Because when they get exposed, then people will go hunt them. And
Yeah.
so that technically was his experiment. He was trying to create a society that could live as werewolves and be who they are without any judgment or anybody trying to come and kill them or anything else like that. And it was being threatened by Karen because she's a famous reporter.
Karen. It's being threatened by a Karen. The way that you say it sounds almost poetic. Whereas I was just looking at Dr. Wagner like this total, you know, double faced cad who is going on TV trying to hawk his book. And meanwhile, he's, creating this society of creatures and, bringing Karen and Bill up into the fray. I was more looking at it as him um, eventually looking to grow this colony. Um, but yeah, so well, he gets taken out. Most of the villagers. Chris grabs Karen. He's now the hero. He locks the wolves, the villagers, in the barn, and they start throwing gasoline on it, set it on fire, and of course, hop in a convertible. Because what else are you gonna do, right?
Exactly, it's another sinner situation. Just burn that barn down, burn it down.
Yeah, barn burner. It's a real barn burner. So this is where I feel bad for Karen because her poor character in movies just constantly is. Dee Wallace just keeps getting stuck in cars that are being attacked by dogs, um, because it's not over yet. They are getting attacked while they're in this car. Rabid dogs trying to get in, and as they're driving, there's a wolf in the back seat, and he scratches Karen. They shoot it, um, and it starts transforming back. And who is it? Bill.
It's Belle.
Um,
Mm.
yeah. And this is fun because, okay, so we talked earlier, we had the transformation that turned into a cartoon. This one, we kind of get like, as they're driving away, we get some, purple, like claymation wolf action. So lots of different mediums here for these practical effects. I love claymation always. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, even the local
they get
sheriff
back.
was a wolf too. So like,
Yeah, everybody's in on
and
it.
they end up stealing his vehicle after theirs is all shot up and everything.
Yeah, yeah, gotta grab a cop car. When in
Exactly.
doubt, steal the cop car. So they go back to LA. They, get in the studio. And this is kind of a fun, I liked this ending of the movie because Karen, she's going to tell her story. She, she obviously had a rough time telling her story before. So everybody's like, Karen, can you do this? Are you ready? And she's going to do it. She gets on um, camera and live on air, she starts telling the story. And as she's doing it, she begins to turn. And Chris takes her out. But then they cut to a dog food commercial, which I thought was just so perfect.
Well,
So,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, I find that scene. One second, I'm gonna cough. Sorry about that. I find that scene really tragic because it starts off with she's planning on doing this. Like she knows that she needs to get
Matter of
this
time.
information out there, and she knows that she's been scratched and infected. And even Chris is looking at her, going, are you sure you want to go through with this? And she's like, I'd rather be, I'd rather basically be dead than having to be this creature. And it was sad because you could see her crying, and knowing what's about to happen. And her transformation is interesting because she did
Minimal.
very minimal, but it didn't look as scary as some of the other werewolves. It more looked like a cute puppy.
Yeah,
and
that's
it
true.
and it was like she wasn't growling or doing anything else like that. It was more like she was sad that her life was ending, and it's like,
Mm,
oh. And then they cut to a puppy,
yeah.
a dog food commercial, and a lot of people watching television thought that that was some sort of like weird stunt that they
Yeah,
pulled.
gimmick.
Yeah, a little
Hmm.
gimmick.
A lot of levity at the end of this movie. Which is this movie is a bit of a ride when you think about how it starts out, right? Very seedy, gritty, and then all of like kind of this a little bit of levity when they're at what we'll call the Colony Beach party. It's a little silly. There's these moments of silliness. There's, the scary moments in the woods, being stalked. They were certainly giving it their all with the effects in this movie. But then you have this levity at the end with the dog food commercial. And then, of course, like the final ending, as the clip ends, it goes to this bar and there's people in the bar talking about the broadcast, all thinking, as you mentioned, that it was a stunt. And who do we see? Witchy Marcia. And she orders a burger, medium rare. So it's just, and then we get the rolling credits over a burger, like sizzling on a grill, which, by the way, wasn't going to be cooked to her liking because that thing was going to be well with how long they left it on the griddle there. Um, but it's a really wild ride, this movie, because it you mentioned, this kind of tragic ending, but it chooses at the very end of it all to not take itself too seriously. And I don't know, did you watch the credits all the way through? If you watch all the way through the credits, which I did this on accident, um, at the very end of the closing credits, there is a very brief clip. And I didn't even recognize, I mean, it's such a brief clip. I didn't even recognize what it was from, so I had to look it up. And they put a clip of The Wolfman from 1941 at the very end of the rolling credits to kind of pay homage to werewolf in cinema history, which was kind of a little fun find for me that I wasn't expecting.
Oh,
I had
nice.
picked this up at your favorite store, Zia, a couple of weekends ago. So I just let it play while I was picking some stuff up, and yeah, kind of fun. So definitely watch all the way through the end of the burger, the greasy burger on the grill.
Exactly. No, but
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting because like Marsha was stuck in the fire. So how in the world did she like? I saw they transitioned into werewolves. They changed, but it looked like they were all stuck in
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
in that farmhouse, and then all of a sudden we get her unscathed.
Yeah.
Back
Still
in
looking hot. Mm-hmm.
back in the city, and she's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. She definitely, the fact that she's sitting at the bar relatively cool, like that was a kind of a roadhousey looking bar, and she is in leather. I just feel like she would have been getting a heck of a lot more attention.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. My bet is Marcia is some sort of a witch because that's the role that she sort of played. Even though she was a werewolf,
yeah.
she's a little bit more witchy than the rest of them. She's very loud and proud with her spookiness for sure.
Yeah, and it's like I said, I feel that Karen's death was sort of in vain because a lot of people didn't believe that that was real in the first place, and the studio director probably is wondering what the world is happening.
Right, right. Seemed like they were setting the stage for a Howling too.
or Howling 3,
Yeah. Or five.
or 5. They just keep going and going.
So what did you think of the movie?
You know what? I look back at this, and this takes place in '81, so we're just coming out of
Hmm.
the '70s. So,
Right.
I messaged you a little earlier and said this reminds me of like '70s horror. It has that look, it
Hmm.
has that graininess, it has that type of acting. I mean, we're just entering the early '80s and leaning into more of what will become like modern day horror, and this is one of the earlier werewolf films in that genre, especially because it is the Howling one, or at the time it was just the Howling.
Yeah.
Uh,
Singular.
yeah, singular, and this is Joe Dante film, so this is one of his earlier films. He was pretty young at the time, and he's known for like his B genre movies. Um, but in this case, you know I enjoyed what they were doing with this film. I liked especially with Rob Bottin, who does the special effects for this film.
Hmm.
Uh, I think he was looking at what they have done in the past and said, how can I amp it up a little bit? How can I draw out these transformations to look really cool? Because sometimes the camera will pan away and then pan back, and the person's a werewolf, or they'll
Hmm.
go to the next scene and then come back and the person's a werewolf. In here, you get to see that it may not look like the most pleasant thing to become a werewolf every
Right.
single time. To go back and forth and back and forth. There's your skin is tearing, your bones are breaking, everything is transforming. It's not like a transformer robot where everything is just neatly going
Right.
together. Everything has to change and expand and break again and tear. Um, Even the nails, like we see behind you, he's tearing through his skin. They're not just growing; they're coming through. Um, yeah, it's I love seeing practical effects like that, and
Hmm.
when you replace them too much with CGI, you can really tell when CGI takes over, and it takes something away from those
Hmm.
those effects. I think, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because
No, I
especially
agree.
they still haven't really gotten better with CGI blood. It still looks like a mess in the computer that they just haven't gotten right. Doesn't
I'm gonna
splatter
get you a
right.
t-shirt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you a t-shirt that says like, "Oh no, CGI blood," because if I know anything about JPOOL, I know that he does not like CGI blood.
Not yet. Not yet. Until they get it
Hmm.
right. Until they get it right.
Someday, someday. Yeah, fun fact about the practical effects on this, which is that Rob Bottin wasn't the original individual that was supposed to do the effects on this. He was the assistant for Rick Baker,
Yep.
who left the film to go work on An American Werewolf in London. So, if funny enough, this is, that's I would say a lot of the reason why there are some similarities, but yet wonderful enough that we get the differences between two movies that were kind of around the same era, same subgenre, and both, take their time to do this really well, but different, which is nice. I mean, again, there's truly nothing better than practical effects in a werewolf movie. Um, so yeah, I thought that that was kind of interesting too.
Oh yeah, and it's way better than with vampires. Because vampires, it's like, oh, we just grow our teeth out and maybe go like this and hiss a bit. But with
Right.
or maybe sometimes a little bit of makeup to make your eyes look different or the
Hmm.
ridges of your head. But
Yeah.
with a werewolf, you have to change the whole body and have a
Right.
lot of hair.
Well,
And
and most vampire, not all, but most vampires get to be hot too.
yeah,
So it makes it a lot easier. A werewolf, that's a grueling. It's your worst memories of junior high transitions put to the max. You are not suave. You are not Bella Lugosi. You are definitely going through it. So yeah, it's just one of the best things about horror movies.
Exactly, and especially with the werewolf genre as well.
Hmm. What did you think about the pacing on the movie?
I thought the beginning of it was a little drawn out, but that is just the way '80s films used to be.
Yeah.
You even look at like The Shining, and it takes forever for something to happen.
Hmm.
I have friends that hate the beginning of The Shining, like
Oh, I love it.
the first like, well, they hate the first like maybe one third of the film, where it
Hmm.
just seems to be the for them the pacing is not fast enough
Yeah.
and it's drawn out. Same way with The Exorcist. It's just drawn out for so long until you finally get something to happen.
Hmm.
And that's just the style at the time. In here, it's not drawn
Yeah.
out too long because we get more of the mystery right away. We get more of the, especially, Eddie is more than just a creep. He's a serial killer.
Right.
And
Right.
he is, for Karen to even remotely go well, not undercover, but basically go for an interview with a serial killer by herself. Okay, this
Hmm.
woman has no survival instincts. I'm
Right.
sorry. She's not a fighter. She's not, she didn't carry a weapon with her. So basically she's walking into the lion's den covered in fresh meat.
Right.
Um
Exactly.
and you're like I know your husband is like he knows where you are and so do your other colleagues, but like you're just gonna hope that the police will get there in time. No one's watching her.
It's a little risky
It's a little
for
risky.
sure.
And there back then there was no such thing as cell phones or
Right.
pagers or any way to communicate after you leave any type of communication area of and she goes into basically a dark area that no one knows where exactly where you are. They know the
Hmm.
vicinity of where you are.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have taken her down a alleyway, and they would have never found her.
Mm.
So she did a very risky thing to get that interview.
Yes, she did. It's funny because they have they I guess it's to ensure that the audience is drawing the correlation, which I think it was a bit unnecessary, but it's interesting that they use the smiley faces. Um, because there's a couple of, other movies that have done something similar, utilizing the, relatively simple and unharmful vision of a smiley face. Um, I just finished watching the latest chapters of The Strangers, where they also use the smiley face.
Mm-hmm.
And then true crime lovers, I'm sure, are familiar with the smiley face lore of the smiley face killers. So it was interesting that they had that. I mean, certainly this movie predates any of those other mentions, but it's kind of an interesting thing that they don't spend a lot of time explaining. But I think it adds to some of the lore around this movie. Just the, oh, smiley face serial killers and having Eddie, which is kind of a different take too on, usually werewolves are just werewolves and they kill to eat. But as you mentioned, he's kind of a LA serial killer, which when this movie was made, you're coming out of LA's most notorious era of serial killers,
Oh
where
yeah.
it kind of brings that gritty grime. I watch a lot of horror movies that are that kind of late 70s, early 80s gritty um, time period, and it's not my favorite. To me, it's very much it's similar to um, gangster movies, Goodfellas, and some of those movies where you have that kind of seedy, gritty period, and it's always my least favorite period in movies. But it definitely gets a reaction out of you too. Um, so I thought it was interesting that this movie started out very, very gritty, and then kind of lightened up a little bit. It moved away from that. Usually, when you're in it to win it. You're stuck in it the whole time. So
Exactly, exactly. All right, so what is your rating for this film?
I have to, as one of the early werewolf movies, not the earliest because movies we talked about 1940s, they go way back. But as far as is really utilizing these early practical effects and transitions and whatnot, I have to give it a little bit higher of a rating than I would for, the storyline and some of the other components. But I give this movie a strong 6.5. Um, it's a little slow pacing wise for me, and the story's a little scattered. But again, early adoption, long drawn out practical effects. I love a good werewolf movie, and it's a slightly different take on what we're used to. It follows the typical tropes, but a little bit different of a storyline for this one. But yeah, something we talked about rewatching, and neither of us had seen it in quite some time, so it's not one of my sitting on the shelf. I'm going to watch this every couple of years or every year, but I feel like it definitely holds its own in the subgenre. It was an early influence to a lot of films, and probably I give it that half rating. We'll go strong 6.5, just for all of the early horror movie cameos that you get in this flick.
Fantastic. Yeah, so yeah, you basically read my mind in that area of like your rating. I would say I gave it about a 6,
Mm,
especially for the time that it came out. I think that because this is such it's a early on type of like horror film. This is before a lot of the slasher films became slasher films. Um, and we have a character in here at the beginning we don't know. I mean, unless you like you saw the trailer for this at the time. They're dealing with a serial killer, so this could be a slasher. This could be someone. But we find out that later he is a werewolf,
hmm
and it's not the best story. And I understand how they do. Um, the introduction of in the film, and it leads into the first act, second act, and the third act, and sometimes the first and second act can be slow for some
hmm
people, especially of this generation. We want things now, now, now.
Right.
We want things immediately, almost sometimes with with the first scene. And here it takes us a while. We do get that intro part where Karen gets basically attacked by Eddie, but then it's just therapy and investigation. And in my opinion, I thought the Chris and Terry storyline was almost more engaging than Karen and Bill's storyline. Actually, I
hmm
wanted to probably see more of Chris and Terry because they were really interesting. The only, I think, downside about either characters is doing things solo and on their own. I'm like,
Right.
Chris and Terry throughout the beginning of the film are together. They're like attached to the hip. But when Terry
hmm
goes off to the colony, Chris stays behind. I'm like, you guys have been together this whole
Yeah.
movie, and then all of a sudden you split. And
hmm
Terry goes off to investigate, knowing about werewolves,
Right.
not bringing silver stake or any other, wolf's bane or anything else that might be able to scare away a wolf. She has a cultist book that she buys to
Right.
study up on werewolves,
Yeah.
and she
Learning
goes
in
by
real time,
and she goes
learning
by
on the job.
she goes by herself without any weapons in hand, without any protection, and without Chris. And it takes to the point where she has to call Chris and say she's in trouble for him to basically grab the silver bullets from the shop without paying for them. He's like, bill me,
Yeah.
because he apparently still has his credit card. And that was expensive, okay? So each bullet, either if they're solid or even if they're coated, that's going to be pretty pricey. I think they're solid, if I remember correctly. I think that like the tips are all silver, you know, and that would have been really expensive. Today it would be even more expensive. I think silver is over $100 an ounce now. But yeah, it's some people do really stupid things in here, and
Hmm.
you're like, even at the beginning, like Karen goes off and does this like expose with a serial killer by herself and meets him in a shady place without really anybody, like, they know where she is, but no one's watching her. And,
Right.
I mean, he could have killed her like that and gotten away with it, and that would be the end of Karen, because
Hmm.
Karen is not too bright doing that. And I see some characters doing some dumb things in here that I'm like, yeah, you really should have thought about, bringing someone with you, or not doing this and this, that we stayed alive a little longer. So all in all, with the special effects, I really enjoyed, the transformations in here. I'm gonna give this film, I think it's reasonable, a 6.
Yeah. Yeah. We're right about on par. I liked that you brought up the Terry Chris thing, because I do feel like, as much as it becomes this very much back and forth between the colony and what Chris and Terry are doing, they really do drive the storyline a lot. And they're kind of fun. They're, a little, yeah, you can tell that they're, well, they're in bed at one point together. I was going to say best friends, but um, their dynamic is really great. And I do feel like it helps to speed up some of the pacing. But the storyline's it's a little weak, but the practical effects and being an early um, uh, object of the practical effects of the werewolf transformation, I think certainly gives it that cult classic status. So we're aligned pretty much. Another one, very close.
Yes, very close, very
It did
close.
good. It was produced for 1.5 million, and it brought in almost 18 million. So,
Yeah, they thought,
um,
18 to 20 million. I'm looking at, but I guess good enough to where they made several sequels afterwards.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah. I gotta squeeze the blood from the proverbial turnip.
They're not all great. They're not all
Right.
great.
Right.
They seem to get progressively worse over time. But yeah, definitely it's fun watching a bunch of actors that you could point your finger at, going like, I think I've seen them in a horror film, and I think I've seen them in a horror film. Wait a minute, those people worked together before in a horror film. Actually, Robert Picardo, who plays Eddie in here, he was the guy in Gremlins 2 that gets
The
his
garbage
no
man.
his ending was with the female transitioned gremlin, who
Oh, okay.
basically is like in a bridal outfit and goes off to
Hmm.
try to kiss him in the very end. So
It's rough.
that's him. That's Eddie.
Mhm. I did read that Steven Spielberg, seeing this movie, was the reason that he wound up bringing in Dee Wallace for E.T. and Joe Dante for Gremlins, specifically because of this movie. So I guess Spielberg is a fan of The Howling. Um, but yeah, it's a really cool flick. It's fun to look for all the cameos, and there's some Easter eggs woven in there as well. If you look for different references to wolves, and if you pay close attention to some of the things people are eating and reading, you'll see some fun little Easter eggs woven throughout as well.
Exactly, and you can watch this currently, as well as the reviews going. It might, you know, depending on when you watch this. Right now, while we're reviewing it, you can watch it on Amazon Prime.
Hmm. Or you can watch it on Blu-ray at my house if you would like to come over and watch The Howling. I was going to pull up and see if it's showing anywhere else.
Don't invite them; they'll come. They will find you.
uh, Tubi, it's free on Tubi as well right now. So if you have Tubi and you don't mind the commercials, watch it there as well.
It makes it you feel like you're going back in time with the commercials.
You can feel like you're in the 80s
Yes,
as you
exactly.
watch this and go, oh, the 80s.
Oh, the '80s. I was only born halfway through the '80s, so
I was alive for the full thing.
shh. You're younger than that. Pretend you're younger than that.
I've earned it.
All right. Well, thank you, LC, for coming on tonight and reviewing The Howling from 1981, directed by Joe Dante. Oh, go on.
Me?
Yeah. No, I was like, yeah. Sorry about that.
And remember to enjoy your chimichanga. I didn't know what you wanted.
That's okay. I will cut that part out.
Okay.
All right, but no, thank you for coming on tonight and talking with me about the film. It was a fun film to, check out again after so long. Like, what was it, like 12, 15 years? It's been a while since I've seen the film. I think I saw the later films, more not that long ago, but I hadn't really gone back to watch the first one in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's cool seeing it again and to review it with you, and definitely check out The Howling Part 2 and Part 3 and Part 4 and Part 5.
We just watch them all.
Yeah,
back to
just
back.
watch them all. Definitely go to my socials, all at Nerd Corner, and then LC's at what was it, LC? What was it? At LC.
I was gonna see if you could get it. LC, LD, CD.
CD. Yes. Okay.
Mm. You might have just eye rolled at my social. It's fine.
Trying to memorize it. I almost got it. I keep getting like TikToks from you. Like it keeps popping up on my TikTok.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Having fun with TikTok for sure.
Exactly.
So LC, LD, CD.
Well, thank you everybody for listening, and thank you everybody for watching. And remember to enjoy your chimichanga.